video yesterday about, being radical as the problem, but it's not your fault. It's intended to be that way. You take a picture and you cut that picture in half and you show half of that picture to one side and half of that picture to the other side. And you have two different pictures. One shows positives of somebody and one shows negatives of somebody. And you cherry pick and you show the radical, left. You show them the positive things the left is doing and the negative things the right is doing. And you go to the right and you show them the positive things that the right is doing and the negative things that the left is doing. And then you broadcast that information to the people. And you just let the people, fucking have at each other's throats. The whole point is to radicalize society. If you radicalize society, they're not going to see the balance point anymore. They're not going to see the thing that makes both sides happy. They're going to focus on the extremes, on the margins. If you're looking at it in a statistic, not the bell curve, you're looking at the far margins, and those are the things that you're at, and you're disappointed because of those things, right? We are being engineered to be radicalists instead of being like, you know what, I want to fix the system, and working from the ground up, getting involved in your local politics, government, which is essentially the people who are in charge of making the decisions for the place that you live. And get involved with local farms, network, go back to a community, a tribal mindset where you help each other out. So if stuff does hit the fan, you're connected, you're networked, you're gonna help each other out, right? And then with that ideology, you fix all the things that you think are wrong at the lowest level, and you go to the next highest level, and then you fix all the things that are wrong at that level, and you go to the next level, city, county, district, state, and you fix everything that's wrong in your state, right? Because your state government does have power. Like anything that the Constitution doesn't cover, your state is in charge of that. You fix it from the ground up, and you be an example. Have such a good city that your other cities around you are like, wow, look what they did over here. We should emulate that. It's working over there, right? And you get to a point where your state is like that, and the other states look at your state, and they're like, wow, look what they did over there. It's working. We should emulate that, right? And that's how you affect change positively. Don't focus on the negative. Don't reinforce the things that divide us, right? There are things that divide us, and there are issues, and there are inequalities in the system in many different places. They're there. We know they're there. So focus on unity. Focus on being one team. Because if you're one team, you have all the resources of all the other teams. We have all these teams right now, and each has their own resources. Imagine the resources and the influence they have if they literally got together and they pulled their things together to, instead of complaining about the negative and pointing blame at other people, to affect change. That's what I believe in. People are like, oh, well, it's bad from the top down. Yeah. So fix it from the bottom up, because that's the only way you fix it. You can't just become president and fix everything, because the president has limited power. A state has a lot of power over itself that people don't realize. The supreme law of the land is the thing the states are supposed to follow, but anything that is not covered in the supreme law of the land, right? Because the whole point of that is for states to be self-governing. That was the idea of the Constitution, is that the people could, self-govern themselves. The free estates could self-govern themselves within, a certain window, and that the federal government was there so that to hold each other accountable. If this state is struggling in food, the states that aren't struggling in food will help that state out. If this state is struggling in water, the states that aren't struggling in water, they'll help that state out, so that we balance each other out. One person's need is another person's, they got too much of it. That's the whole point of everything. And you're just constantly being manipulated. You're being manipulated by social media, and you're being given poor quality food, and that poor quality food leads to poor physical health, and sometimes even poor mental health. You're constantly in front of all these devices, and that impacts your sleep. You're not getting good sleep. So poor food and not getting good sleep, that's going to infect your physical health, and then their whole system focuses on treatments. Oh, take this thing, which isn't a cure, it's a treatment. It'll help you um, maintain what you need, the status you need. You just, as long as you keep paying, right? So now you have poor physical health, poor mental health, and what are you doing? You're paying the system. You're paying for those treatments, and the insurance companies are profiting. We have all these systems in place that literally create problems to profit off of. And the more you start connecting the dots, the more it makes sense. And ultimately, this is going to sound conspiracy theory as hell, but you know what? I don't care, because it's true. There is a hidden hand. There is a hand pulling strings. Call it whatever you want, but there is an agenda. Because if there wasn't an agenda, they wouldn't have been able to keep the people oppressed and at each other's throats for so long. That's the thing. How do you keep people oppressed, make it to where their quality of life is shit, and they don't blame the people that are in charge of them? They blame each other. They blame their neighbor. That is a genius level strategy right there. That is some genius level social engineering, because that's what that is. You are being socially engineered, and that's why I'm telling everybody, get to know yourself, right? Don't buy a product because you've been subliminally fucking already manipulated into buying that product, right? Think about the messages that you see people painting on social media. What is the point of this message? What are they trying to tell you? What are they trying to plant and seed your mind with? Because the more you understand yourself, the more you'll realize that is not my idea, that is not my value, that doesn't make sense. These are the things I care about, and this doesn't have anything to do with the things that I care about, right? It's trying to change what your idea of normalcy is. And that's like how we got to where we are with plastic now and petroleum derivatives. Corporation hired a think tank and been like, how can we make money off of our waste products? Oh, let's fucking change the education system and make it look like plastic is the future. Look at all these great things that plastic can do, and now plastic is a problem. That's just one example, right? Just think about it. Think about everything. Think about all the systems in place and how each system communicates with all the other systems, the homeless population and mental health and drug addiction, right? Like, why? Because people want to escape, because people don't like their life. They would rather withdraw into here and not perceive the stuff that's happening, not feel the stuff that's happening outside of them. So many things.